alcoholics, right? Sex addicts, right? Didn't move with integrity. That's the one thing, man, I love about, man, y'all, man, for real. I'm telling y'all got to get with the right crew. Y'all, when y'all hear Maul talk about getting up and working out, it don't got nothing, man, I promise y'all. It don't have nothing to do with, like, I ain't following no man because he got muscles. I'm following Maul because he got muscles that come from discipline. Like, I promise you, you call Maul, like, yo, Maul, the podcast, you heard the podcast. Yo, Maul, we want you to go see this. They try to, you know what I'm saying, get Maul to see his billboard that's out there. Trying to trick Maul. Maul like, I can't do it. They like, we need you to come right now. He like, this is my workout time. Whatever you trying to show me, work out. I got to work out. I'm trying to get on this scale and be the same height, the same weight I was when I was coming out of college. That's discipline. I was like, you on a scale when? He's like, every day. I was like, that's my problem. How you been on the scale? How you been on the scale? About 5 years. I'm just guessing. I'm 189. You know what I'm saying? See, I feel 189. You know what I'm saying? The way my pants fit. 189. All right, let's go. Here's where me and my wife get into it. So my wife was like, first she said, you know, you need more structure. I was like, in my company, I don't need no more structure. Structure ain't the problem. I can go show you a whole bunch of structure. I said, I got it, sweetheart. I'm not willing to make the adjustment, but I don't run the type of company where I want to get up every day and, what's the word I'm looking for? See, like, I don't want to get up every day and be nobody's boss. Does that make sense? Like, I don't want to get up and micromanage nobody, right? So the challenge is, at some point, you're going to have to learn to be disciplined. You're going to have to learn, if you say you're going to wake up at 8 o'clock, you're going to get up at 8 o'clock, no matter how you feel. Like, you got to be disciplined. And to get to the next level of success, you can't just have energy when you got energy. I want to make sure y'all catch that. If you're running a business and it's 365, then 365, you got to wake up every day and you got to go get it. Why? Because if you don't hunt, you don't eat. So here's the deal. If you hunted in January and you got enough food for January, you don't get to chill February. You got to get up in February and go get enough food. And so what a lot of us do, we aren't disciplined. Like, we're not self-motivated. We're not self-regulated. We need outside people to push us. And that's not how the Creator made us. He didn't make us for all other people to be over us. So here's what I told my wife. Sweetheart, if another human can tell you to get up and go to work and do what you're supposed to do, why can't you pretend like, if you need another human, be the human. You be that human. If you need somebody to tell you need to lose 100 pounds, be your own voice to tell yourself you need to. Don't go pay nobody $50,000 to lose weight when you can do it yourself. And I'm not saying don't get a person, but at some point you got to cut that person off. Why? Because if you don't have personal discipline, you'll never get to the next level. The next level is not something that's far away. Like Maul said, the next level is execution is not something that, you know, we do. It's something that we are. And most of us aren't disciplined. It's like you just go, like, you drink.
Woo, E.T. on fire this morning. Discipline. Thank everybody for showing up this morning. We are about to be talking about the reality of God, part 2. I wanted to start with that because I believe discipline is a part of becoming a God and reflecting the God. So I think that's a good attribute to have. So let's start off in prayer. And remember, family, every morning you can join us on Zoom by texting the word, by going to Brother Ben Links. I'm making it easy for you by going to brotherbenlinks.com and tap that first link at the top, and it'll open your text messages and send a message for you. You ain't even got to put it in your text message. It's going to open up, and all you got to do is hit send. All right? Let's open up in prayer. In the name of Allah, the beneficent and merciful, surely I'm being turned unto thee, striving to be upright to him who originated the heavens and the earth, and I am not among the polytheists. Surely my prayer, my sacrifice, my life, and my death are all for Allah, the Lord of the worlds. No associate has he, this I am commanded, and I am of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the King, there is no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I've been unjust to myself, and I confess my faults. So please grant me protection against all my faults, for none grants protection against faults but thee. And guide me into the best of morals, for none can guide me into the best of morals but thee. And turn away from me the evil and the indecent morals, for none can turn away from me the evil and the indecent morals but thee. And O Allah, bless Muhammad, and bless the true followers of Muhammad, as thou did bless Abraham and the true followers of Abraham. For surely thou art praiseworthy and magnified. And O Allah, make Muhammad successful, make the true followers of Muhammad successful, as thou did make Abraham and the true followers of Abraham successful. For surely thou art praiseworthy and magnified. Ameen. All right, family. So before we get started this morning, I think I'm going to make it in a custom after yesterday, just to ask the question for it to be on our mind. The question of the morning is, how will God be reflecting through you today? Just something for us to think about every morning. How will God reflect through you today if we are amongst the people that have read, understand, and believe the reality of God in man? We know about that spirit being dependent on material. God works through the human being. It is not the flesh that's eternal. It is the wisdom that's eternal. Well, we know wisdom, knowledge, understanding, that's something that's in a human being. How will we spread the word of God, or how will we just reflect God today? If we know that this is a wicked world, the minister teaches us two things can't occupy the same space at the same time. In order for us to get out of this wicked world's mindset, which is what he says the hereafter really is. The hereafter is here on earth after this wicked world has been destroyed. Well, if that's the case, and it is, he talked about the white man's time being up in 1914. Well, man, it's 2023. It seems like they still in power. It seems like this wicked system is still in power. The Bible says Satan is the god of this world. Look like the god of this world is still in power. That's because we haven't understood who we are, accepted who we are, which Master Father Muhammad said, accept your own and be yourself, and stood up. You're not just going to lay down and say, all right, y'all, time up. Come on, y'all come get y'all position. No, we have to raise up. So the more that we can get our people to see the reality of God and ourselves, understand the reality of God, but also give them the knowledge of self, the knowledge of devil, and the knowledge of God, so that they can see it within themselves, so that we all can raise up and have a new world, a new system, a new government of peace. That's our goal. So every morning I'm just going to ask you all and us, how will God reflect through us today? I want us to also think about, as we listen to part 2 of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And if you missed yesterday, it's inside of the Telegram. It's also on my YouTube. And I believe, and my YouTube is back. So I streamed it yesterday, I believe, part 1 on my YouTube channel. But I also put the full version inside of the Telegram. So let me find the actual video. See what we left off at. We left off at 1 hour and 3 minutes. I wanna look at a few attributes of God that we probably heard in church. So what I want you guys to do in the comment section is, if I was to ask you, what are 5 attributes of God? What would you guys say? What are 5 things we know that God is? I want y'all to just put the first 5 things that come to your mind in the comment section. Those of you all who are on Facebook, on YouTube, and even on Zoom. If I was to say, man, what are 5 things you know God for? What would you say in the comment section? Somebody said all-knowing, beneficent, love, merciful, patient, truth, love, spirit, just, powerful, compassion, force and power. I'm pretty sure somebody's thinking, right? Omnipotence. Is that how they say it? No, it's omnipotence. Yeah, I'm sitting here talking about omnipotent. Omnipotence. Then you got omnipresent, eternal, benevolence, right? As we look at these attributes that we reading off, somebody said disgusted. He disgusted with our behavior. Mighty. Now, as we are Sister Kavah said, builder, destroyer, justice. As we list off these, I want us to see if we just, instead of me putting God there, right? So y'all got God. We got God there. Man, he's beneficent. Oh, he's merciful. Oh, all powerful. All knowing. Oh, he's eternal. He's just. He's kind. Oh, he's loving. God is love. Peace. If I say, okay, now scratch God out, and put your name right there. Now I gotta put Brother Ben X. You gotta put Sister so and so. How many of them attributes are we finna have to say? Damn, no, you gotta mark that one right there out. Woo, Ooh, kind. I gotta mark that one out. Let me see. Powerful, man. I ain't got no power yet, man. How many will we have to mark out? Loving. Ooh, I ain't loving. God, dog, I be mean in the mud. How many will we have to mark out? If we had a T-chart or a list and it said, God, he's this, he's merciful, knowing, powerful, blah, blah, blah. How many of them things do we got to cross out? Now, if it says now that we are made in his image and after his likeness, and we are to reflect God. It says we are to be his Khalifa on the earth. One who stands in the place of, the minister teaches us. How good of a reflection are we? Now check this out. What separates the God, right? The minister teaches us is that he is the supreme being. So we know it, but he's all knowing. We got some mercy, but he's the most merciful. You see, most kind, all powerful. But we're supposed to have some power. So I want us to look at that, not saying, okay, I got to mark it out because I'm not all powerful now. But do you got power? We supposed to. They smell the people. Man, listen, if we are supposed to be reflection of the God, and we know our people out here, some people out here that don't even believe in God, they don't got the teachings at all, they supposed to be looking up saying, man, that's a powerful brother. Ooh, that sister, man, she's so merciful. I mean, she's just so patient. Man, he's so loving. They supposed to naturally just start to see the attributes of the God in us. And if we not there yet, these are some things, these are some ingredients that we just need to add. So I just want to ask us that this morning, because I think oftentimes, man, we talk about, oh man, we gods. Ooh, children of the Most High God and the spirit within. Yeah, all that's good. We know how to break it down, size it up. We gonna put our sauce on it. But no, the basics. Hey man, what is God? You know, the attributes of God, do we reflect those? And if we don't, that's okay. Now we know, man, I got to work on my mercy. I got to start working. Okay, I ain't that powerful yet. Okay, I got to add some power. Man, I'm not every time really coming to me asking me nothing. They may not think you know nothing. See what I'm saying? So you got to get your all knowing up. So I'm just saying, man, and then, as I'm thinking about this, we got to see how I can become God in all areas of my life. See, not just in finances, not just in ministry, but maybe in my relationship, am I all knowing? Maybe in parenting, am I powerful? See, do my children see me do they come to me with questions? You know, it's just in all in my business. Am I just in my finance? Am I waiting on life to just happen to me, or am I powerful enough to go make something happen? Am I patient not just with my children, but am I patient with my employees? Am I patient with my wife? Am I patient with my husband? Because I may be patient with my sisters, my brothers, my biological family, but I may be impatient and not kind with strangers, my own brothers and sisters out there. What do I need to work on? What do I need to improve? What part of my mindset do I need to change to be God in all areas? Not the God, but be a God. Reflect him in all areas of our life. So that's what I want us to be conscious about as we go on this particular month, man. Am I reflecting God? And when we're in a situation, it may help you to say, what would God do? How would God think about this? And when you're doing something, am I reflecting God right now? And that may get us back on track. All right, that's my little intro today, just to get our thinking flowing. Let's listen to part 2 of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan explaining and talking about the reality of God. This one right here is going to be about 30 minutes. And remember to take notes. Write down something that stood out to you on this Zoom call so you can share it at the end.
Says you straight. Well, that's the way it is with God. The body remains, and it keeps on producing one, who will be the head of that nation. And that head is always the best knower. And how can you tell that Master Farad Muhammad is the best knower? He's revealing that which no man ever considered before. And when they try to fight it, the more they fight it, the more they say, man, he's right. See, now I tell you something. I had to go all the way to the east to find out that the real man was in the west. A brother called me from Denver today, Colorado. He went to Senegal, and he studied in a class under Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop, one of the most brilliant black men on the scene today. And Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop is getting to the point where he's seeing that the black man is really the father of all men, but there's a point in his knowledge where he don't have the root of it, and here the root comes out of Georgia, out of a little humble black man named Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And because we're so disrespectful of ourselves, we don't think that God is wise enough to take a black man from among us and make anything out of him. See, and when you see a man stand up and say, I am the messenger of God, and you say, oh man, he's a nigger just like me. He ain't nothing. And then that man do a work like Elijah Muhammad did in our midst, and you still don't want to recognize it, it's because of your disrespect of yourself. So if God wanted to hide, the best place he could hide and never be detected is to just get into one of you and hide. You never find him. Yes, sir.
I want to thank you. I think you did shed a lot of light on that question.
Thank you, sir.
The next question is the devil.
Yes.
He was just strange as a lot of us read him. In the chapter describing the devil, we get to the point where Yahuwah makes the white man find that he made with himself that was exactly 60,000. I didn't know if there had any significance to that number. It seems rather coincidental that his creation stopped exactly at 60,000. And I would say, I don't know if that's significant or not. My question here, though, is that in reading about God, we looked into the book of Genesis there, and we talked about the creation of man. In that book, it mentions, the scripture reads that God said, let us make man. And we talked about who was the us. And if I remember correctly, the us was supposed to represent the original man. And that Yaqub, this making of the white man, how is the two related in the scripture in Genesis? What is the relationship between the two? And we also had mentioned that the symbolism in that chapter, the serpent, the tree in the midst of the garden, and Adam. And that Adam was a name used where they called these people their name, and they called their name Adam. Adam represented the names of a people.
Yes, sir.
Now, we get back now. What was confusing me was when I thought that if Adam represents the making of a man, Yaqub made the white man. So it sounds like Yaqub made Adam.
Very good.
Was that Yaqub who was talking?
Oh, come on, brother. Let's get into this thing. Oh, Brother Lamont. Go ahead.
Yaqub is what was sort of confusing to me is who is this talking in Genesis 1:26?
All right, let's go after it. Looks like this is going to be our class tonight, clearing up the questions. But we're going to get the program in position. It's going to be all right. You're just working me a little hard. Now, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has said, if you look, brothers and sisters, in the Genesis of the Bible, it starts off dealing with a creator. And this creator, in words, is just saying, be, and it is. And he's bringing into existence light and separating the firmament and the waters and so forth. I mean, very powerful. When it gets to the 26th chapter, it gets a little weak there. And he says, let us make man. I need a little help here. Now, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that is not the God, creator of the heavens and the earth, talking in Genesis 1:26. That is one of the family of the gods and his idea to make a man. Now notice, and God said, we went over this once before, but we're going to do it again. And God said, let us make man. Now, man is a step down from God, isn't it? Yes, sir. According to the book. All right, so he makes man, and this man is the image. So the board moved. I knew there was a force involved. All right. Now, this man is the image and the likeness of God. Now, if he's the image and the likeness, he's yet not the essence of this. Because the essence of God is God, not its image. Now hear me good. You make a child, any of you that have a son. That son is not your image. He's not your likeness. He's the same essence as you. That's right. So your son really is you. That's right. That's you going on. But this is not God going on. It's something different here. So the word is not using God created. It says God made. That's a key word. The verb here tells you something about the action. Yes, sir. Now, when you make something, You take it from a created essence.
That's right.
Come into it.
Break it down, brother.
Look. See this microphone? This is made. But the essence from which this is taken is created. It's raw material that you get out of the earth. But to make means to fashion out of a created essence. Now God is self-created. But when you make something, you take it from the created essence. And from means actually away from. You are taking it out of a created essence and you're fashioning something new. Call that. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that this symbolically is talking about the making of the white race. Now, when it says God made man from the dust of the earth, you don't make man from dust. Dust don't have no quality of life in it. It's got to be the presence of water for there to be the presence of life. So the Holy Quran teaches all life comes from water. But then this is talking about dust. Now, what is dust? Come on. What is dust? If we look at dust, see this here? If we start shaving this, you get little pieces of this flying off in the atmosphere. It is something that exists. It is matter, but it's not doing anything because it's not a part of its original essence. Just dust, just out here doing nothing. But if you put water with dust, then you got something that got the ingredients to bring life. Oh, brother, now here we go. Everybody all right? You ain't going to sleep on me, right? Oh, all right. Now, what is the dust here? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad in Message to the Black Man said that the dust represents the weaker germ in the black man. It's there dormant, doing nothing. That brown germ that he talked about, it's in you right now. But Yaqub studied it and said, if I can separate that brown germ from the black germ. Now look at this. Don't you know, brother and sister, that you couldn't get evil out of the black man unless evil was already in us? But the evil that's in us remains in check because the powerful positive germ in the seed keeps the weak one always under control. But Yaqub saw if he could separate the two, take that brown germ out from under its natural control, then graft it to its final stage, he could produce a people unalike that would attract the original man. And with a system of tricks and lies, this one could rule that one until the coming of God out of this one to put that one into destruction. This is your Bible from one end of it to another. It's talking about now a made enemy in the garden. Now look, I'm going to go back after that again, but I want you to see this now. God made a man, and the man that he made was a rebel. Yeah. The man Adam rebelled. That's not a prophet. The Islamic people say Adam is a prophet, and there is no prophet that rebels against the will of God. See, so here you have a contradiction unless it's understood. Just bear with me a few minutes. It's going to be all right. Now, this Adam rebelled against God and had to be put out of the garden. Is that right? Okay. Now, 59,000. 999 with Yaakov made 60,000. And God said to who? To us. The us represented those that were his followers, Yaakov's followers. Come on, let us make a man. I'm going to make a people to rule.
Right. Yes, sir.
Let us make a man in our image, God.
Yes, sir.
He's not going to be our nature. He's going to be our image. He's going to look human, but he'll be a different kind of human being, and we'll call him mankind.
That's right.
Not man, but a kind of a man. A different species of human being with a different total kind of nature, a very rebellious nature, fiery nature, troublemaking nature, mischief-making nature that will cause bloodshed on the earth. Now, where is this 60,000 in Scripture? Here is wisdom. Count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man 666. The beast number 60 is 60. It took 60,000 people to start in the making of the white man.
That's right.
It took 600 years to graft him out.
Yes, sir.
And he was given 6,000 years to rule. And the number 6 became the number that Moses gave him to constantly remind him, look, boy, the 7th day is the Sabbath. You got 6 days to do your work. Raise hell all you want for 6 days, but the 7th, that is the Lord's day, you keep it holy. And so from the time of Moses, white people have been reminded to keep the Sabbath. So this is what you do coming up under a Christian world. You raise hell for 6 days. Tell the truth. You got so bad now you raise hell every day. They ain't got no day for God. But when we were coming up, this was years ago, when I was a little boy, that was a long time ago. Man, we didn't even bathe during the week. You wash up, but your bath was Saturday night. Mama put a big old pan in the floor, put the hot water in the pan. Come Johnny, come Josie, come Lucy, come Sally, take your bath. And we would jump in that big tub. The boys jump in once, the girls jump in, wash themselves, and get out, and now you go to bed. Next morning, your new clothes is all laid out on the bed. Why? Because we're going to church this morning. Why was that? That was given to white people to remind them that after they had lived on our planet 6,000 years, raising hell, that in the dawn of the 7,000 year, God would come. And when God come, he would put them to rest, and their 6-day labor would be destroyed. Now when God comes, you have the Genesis all over again. Because as they had their Genesis, you got to have yours. Now here it comes again. Here's where the prophet comes in. The Adam that is the prophet or the divine guide. Everybody all right? Doesn't the Bible tell you about 2 Adams? It says the first Adam was made from the dust of the earth. The second Adam is made of a quickening spirit. Why was that? That was given to white people to remind them that after they had lived on our planet 6,000 years, raising hell, that in the dawn of the 7,000 year, God would come. And when God come, he would put them to rest, and their 6-day labor would be destroyed. Now when God comes, you have the Genesis all over again. Because as they had their Genesis, you got to have yours. Now here it comes again. Here's where the prophet comes in. The Adam that is the prophet or the divine guide. Everybody all right? Doesn't the Bible tell you about 2 Adams? It says the first Adam was made from the dust of the earth. The second Adam is made of a quickening spirit. Well, you are the original man. All you need is for your spirit to be quickened. That means give life to you. Well, here it is now. Didn't the sister ask me a question I think it was in this class. She said that there was water, there was grass, but there was no man that would till the earth. Who raised that question in the class here? Was it in this class? It wasn't in this class? Was it in this class? That's what I thought. It was about Adam, and it was about the making of man. And they were talking about, there was grass, there was clouds, there was this, but there was no man to till the ground. Well, all that's talking about is, look, it couldn't be grass and there was no water. Wherever you see water or grass, there's got to be water. Wherever you see cattle, there's got to be water. Wherever you see any living thing, there's got to be water. But they said there was no man to till the ground. This is you it's talking about. You and I are like animals. There is nobody to cultivate. To till means to cultivate, to nurture, to nourish, to develop, to evolve you from a low level to the stature of God. There was no man to make you into yourself. So God said, let us make man.
That's right.
But this time we're not making him in our image. We're quickening his spirit because he's already us. He is a God like we are. All he needs is to have his spirit quickened and he will stand up like a God. Right. And in the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's infancy, he mastered Whitey.
That's right.
I've sat with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He said, brother, the white man is like a little piece of string on my finger.
That's right.
He said, I have to look at my finger sometime to see whether the string is there. I just don't feel it. He said, that's the way the white man is, and if you stick with me, I'll have you mastering him. Well, how could he have us mastering him unless he was the master of him? And I've seen white folks come to the messenger and just be bowing down to him, brother. If you had read some of the letters that he received from white people saying, yes, we bear witness, we are devils, is there any chance for us? I remember when I traveled around when Malcolm was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's minister. The messenger told Malcolm, whenever Malcolm preached, he said, dump fire on him. And whenever I was with Malcolm and Malcolm was preaching, he dumped pure fire on white folks. And white folks would be in the audience and Malcolm be talking about them and they would start hissing him. He said, yeah, that's what the snake did in the garden, your father. Oh, man, look at they be burning, brother. And after Malcolm get finished pouring fire on them, you see the little white girls and boys just crying and asking them, is there any hope? Is there anything we can do to escape what they know is coming? Malcolm said, ain't nothing you can do. That's gone and died, that's all. The hell on off the planet. Well, so brother, your studying has caused you to line it up good. Now, it's even deeper than that, but time just don't permit us tonight to just tap around on some of the roots. But brothers and sisters, honest, that book, Message to the Black Man, once you've read it, don't think you know it. If you go back over it again, it'll reveal more to you. You go back over it another time, it'll reveal more to you. Now, I'm talking out of that book. I've been a follower of Honorable Elijah Muhammad for 25 years, and I'm a baby. I'm still a baby in the knowledge, as God is my judge. And I don't consider myself wise. I'm still a student of the wisdom. And I say this to you very humbly, brother and sister. If you will study this little black man from Georgia, study what God has revealed to him for your salvation, you will become a mighty woman and a mighty man. And all we're asking you to do is study, investigate, and go out and try the knowledge out. When you think you got a handle on it, try it out. And brother, you just take a few little sayings out of this book and drop it in a crowd. That'll be like dropping off an atom bomb in there, brother. People say, what you say? What you say? Eyes get big, brother. Look like they looking at flying saucers. This knowledge will stop them in their tracks. And I'm telling you, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as we conclude this portion, we're going to get into program and position for about 20 minutes. As we conclude this portion, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to me, this is just before he left. I didn't really understand it. As I always say, I didn't understand it because, I thought I really understood. And as I look back on myself, I was really an arrogant fella. Because you could stand up and you could answer a lot of people's questions. You really got to thinking, you was hot stuff. And the test showed me that I didn't know what I thought I knew. And I had to take a review and become a child all over again. And I love it. I don't think I'll ever grow up again. I'm going to stay a child under Muhammad. I say that to say this, that I forgot the point. Now, I wanted to close this session out and that section out. Oh yes, the messenger said to me, he said, brother, he said, I'm going to go away. Now listen to his words carefully. He said, I'll be gone approximately 3 years. Now, don't you change the teachings while I'm gone. Now, those are orders. Don't you change the teachings while I'm gone. He said, I'm going away to study. He didn't say he was going to die. He said, I'm going away to study. He said, what I've given you is just a wake-up message. He said, if you are faithful, when I return, I will reveal the new teaching through you. That's conditional, if you're faithful. All right. February 1975, the announced death of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Everything that he taught me about this hour, I couldn't make heads nor tails of it, because if he's dead, it don't add up. Something's missing somewhere. I couldn't figure it out, and I got thrown into confusion. But now that by his grace I've come back to myself, I understand a little better why he said don't change the teaching. Now I'm going around this country with his teachings, not changing it. And what you don't realize, I'm talking about these old Muslims, you don't realize that God has produced a virgin people right in your face.
That's right.
What? A virgin? What you talking about, man? You are like little virgins.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Because even though Muhammad spent a lifetime in your midst, many of you don't even know that he ever was here.
Right.
And the white man has been so thorough in his evil machinations, he has robbed you of the history of your recent struggles, so that this generation that's out there now don't even know that a struggle ever went on. You talk about Dr. Martin Luther King, they say, oh yeah, that's the man of dreams. Yeah, I heard of Dr. King, that's a dreamer. You ask them, who is Malcolm X? Is he one of the Beatles? You wouldn't believe that you could go to students and ask them about Malcolm and they wouldn't know who he is. You wouldn't believe that they don't know nothing about H. Rap Brown, Stokely Carmichael, Huey Newton, Eldridge Cleaver, Ron Karenga. They don't know nothing about the men, Imam Baraka, that helped to shape the 60s. They don't know nothing about these men. Why don't they know? Because white folks, while they kept our fathers busy voting, busy going into white folks' restaurants, nightclubs, hotels, and sweethearting with white women, and vice versa, he robbed a whole nation of the history of struggle producing a virgin people. Oh, they look wild and crazy, but they're virgins. They don't even know the mistakes of yesterday. That's really something, because that's been wiped out of their knowledge. So the messenger said, don't you change the teaching. Then just before my daughters got married into the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's family, he sat on the bed in his room with me this day, October 1974, and he was remarking about his feelings about my children. And then he said, you know, brother, when my name is mentioned, now listen to this, the people are going to say, oh, that man, I remember him. His teaching was good for that time, but it's not good for this time. And he said it very remorseful. And sure enough, if you listen to his former followers, they say his teaching was all right then, but it ain't no good for now. But he told me, don't change the teaching, brother. Now you watch. By God's help, a whole nation is going to come up. You're going to see this. If you live just a few more days, you're going to see this. And they're going to come up to the very word that the hypocritical followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad have abandoned. And you're going to see people walking right by you, coming to the man you just left. And they'll say, man, where the hell are you going?
That's right.
Weren't you trying to get me into this at one time?
Yes, sir.
All right, family. That concludes the audio for the day. Press the number 1 if you have anything that you would like to share. Sister Brianna, she's ready. Hold on. Okay, go ahead and unmute yourself. You can go.
This call was good. The point that stood out to me the most even tied into what we listened to yesterday as well, when he said that people don't know what struggle is. And a sister yesterday, I believe, said that it's easy to follow someone who isn't here anymore because you won't have to work as hard, or you won't have to struggle as hard because they're not here in the person and or flesh to tell you otherwise. And that was just huge, because we don't go through things, we grow through things. And Allah has to test us throughout the journey to see how steadfast we are. Did we learn this lesson? And that all comes through trials and tribulation. And especially nowadays, people don't want to go through trials. They just want to stay comfortable, and nothing grows in the comfort zone. So to me, that was huge. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Anybody else? Have something you want to share? Press the number 1. Brother Wesley?
Assalamu alaikum, family. One thing I wrote down was a brief comment that the minister made about that in 25 years of him being a student of the Elijah Muhammad, he still was a baby in the wisdom. So sometimes I know for me, I get kind of hard on myself when I'm learning something new. I kind of want to get to the end result, but just understanding that, trusting that process and being patient with myself to truly understand, you have to take time. And when you brought up about taking these lessons and put them to the test, show yourself the truth behind these wisdoms so that you can gain that understanding and able to help other people as well. Because if you don't truly understand what it is that you're talking about, you can't really help someone else that may be ignorant to what you're speaking about. So just understanding that process, and that even though we may be years in learning something or years in reading and understanding the teachings, we still can be a baby and that wisdom, and we should be humble enough to be willing to be a student as long as it takes till we get that understanding.
Yes, sir. That was definitely one of the things that I wrote down as well. He said he was a baby and a follower for decades at that time. So who are we who just came in and didn't have a chance to sit directly with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to get it explained and broken down? How can we think we got it all the way? Sister Answer.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
You coming in a little choppy.
Can you? Is that better? Turn the air off. Is that better?
Yes, that's better.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, alhamdulillah. We just, a brother had put in there, why do we allow or why does the devil keep us illiterate? And my question became, because we've been exposed to these teachings for over 60 years. Why do we allow the devil to continue to keep us illiterate? When we know, and not all of us, but many, when we know better, then we ought to do better. So we know that the devil is doing this. We found him in all areas, poisoning our minds, from our dietary intake down to our education, or education up, however you want to look at it. So why do we continue to feed into our generations the same poison that crippled us? That's my question and my statement, that we really have to take responsibility and accountability for ourselves and our seed. And if we can't do it ourselves, maybe we're illiterate, we find groups of others, or try to find others who are homeschooling their children, if you can't get them in the Nation of Islam, to learn, areas that will take them out of the public system designed to keep you under and designed to teach you other than self, and put them into a place where they learn love of self. They become confident of self. And that involves food too. Sugar is a calcifier of the pineal gland, which then limits the learning. So we need to cut it out. But how many of us actually do it? How many of us actually do it? I watched a sister, Muslima. We had a gathering at my home one day, and her youngest one, we had made all wholesome food. Everything's on the table, bean soup. I had made my famous jalapeno bread, et cetera, for the children and the adults to enjoy. This sister left my home and went to the dollar store and bought sugar foods, cupcakes and donuts and this, and said, oh, he won't eat that. And gave her baby that candied food. And I'm like, he would eat it if you set that before him as his meal, just like you set that sugar before him as a meal. You have to teach your children, not your children teach you. Assalamu alaikum. That's all I had to say this morning. Peace, everyone.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for sharing. Brother King Cam.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
A few things stood out to me. Really, one of the things that stood out was the fact that the just dovetailing off of what Brother Wesley said about being a baby in the teachings, and the minister sitting before the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad for, I believe he said 25 years, and was still a baby in the teaching. So that was something that was very, very heavy. But then also when the minister talked about how, because he was teaching on a message to the black man, and he was saying that every time you read Message to the Black Man, that you learn something new, and that something new is revealed to you. And don't ever think that because you read it once, you think that you have it. And he said that if you read Message to the Black Man and you just take something out of Message to the Black Man and drop it into a crowd, it's like an atomic bomb going off in that crowd. And that just made me go back to thinking, sometimes, people try to get all fancy and nuanced and, so profound with the teaching, when really, if you take it back to the basics, a message to the black man, who is God, who is the devil, all of those basic, but it's profound concepts and teaching and wisdom that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave to us, a message to the black man. You can wake up the masses of the people with just that. So it reminds me of when the minister was talking about in A Man and His Mission. He was saying, if you know just something of the teachings, then you can go out and teach that. So you don't need to have read all 5 books of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad before you can start teaching the people. You don't have to have read the Supreme Wisdom front and back for you to go and teach the people. Just the basics, whatever you have learned, then and have a grasp on. You can take that little bit and go out and resurrect the dead. Because in the Supreme Wisdom, it says that all of the above can be accomplished with little study. So just what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Master Farrakhan Muhammad gave us in the original rules of instruction, Supreme Wisdom, actual facts, that right there in and of itself can resurrect the dead. Before you get into all of the other books and all of the other stuff that's available, you can take just the basics and teach. I remember student Minister Abdul Rahman. Minister Rahman used to teach straight Supreme Wisdom in the Bible. When he was teaching, he was coming straight out the Supreme Wisdom, and he was going straight out the Bible. And I'm talking about people with, anytime Mr. Rockman was teaching, people was accepted left and right, everybody hands jumping up. I mean, just straight basic teaching. So, man, it really got me excited and had me to think back on, just reading Message to the Black Man and how powerful and profound the wisdom was of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad then and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan now. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Sister Golda.
Assalamu alaikum. I just have to first say that I completely appreciate what Brother Kim just said because, I'm 3 months in. So if Minister Farrakhan is a baby, I'm a tadpole. But I constantly find myself feeling like I got to read every book. Like I need to know everything like right now. And you get a little overwhelmed. So I appreciate hearing him say like, you don't have to know all of this to be able to speak to your people. I mean, of course you want to study, but I just needed to hear that for a minute. So probably be to Allah for that. But the part that stood out to me was when he said his teachings were good for the time, or when people said his teachings were good for the time, but it's not for good at that time, but not for this time. And as I've been learning and reading, one thing that I've noticed and I want to acknowledge is that these teachings are like living, breathing, because some of the things that were spoken about back then, it's shocking because I'm like, this actually applies right now. Like, this is what we're actually dealing with right now to this day. And so it just, when he said it, it was like a reminder, like, no. These teachings are living, breathing. Like these teachings are right and exact. And that was really more affirmation for me that these are the teachings that come from the mouth of God, like from the words of God. Even with the Navy being, I remember a brother was explaining to me why y'all eat the Navy. This is like 2 years ago, and was telling me why y'all eat the Navy bean. And it was shocking. I was like, wait a minute, it actually has a purpose. Like it helps with radiation. Like he explained everything. So it's just everything about these teachings. This is just short and sweet, but the teachings are living and breathing. And no matter how long ago they came to us, they are always going to apply to every single situation. Every single situation in my life, I can apply through these teachings. So assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for sharing. Sister Kava.
Yes, sir. So two things, assalamu alaikum. Two things that stood out to me was the first one was when the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was talking about Adam and that how the Muslim world believes Adam to be a prophet, but Adam rebelled and there's no such thing as a rebellious prophet. So it made me to think about the word rebellion, and being rebelled, when we just rebel against everything. And I think someone was mentioning about how long we have had these teachings over 60 years, and yet we are still, many of us, in the state of rebellion. And I think it goes back to the basics of message to the Black man, of not really knowing who we are, not really knowing that we are God, not really believing it, and not really testing it, as someone else said, putting it to the test. Because if we knew that we were God, if we knew that we had the rebellious one, the original one from Yaqub's mind, wrapped around our finger like a string, then we would see that we have the power of force and power to be God. Those attributes that you talked about, they are there within us naturally. So it made me just to think that, a lot of the reason that we're still going through what we're going through is because of that brown germ that became opposite but attracting us. So we're still attracted. So we have to rise above emotions into the thinking of God. One of the first words that you played through the other brother, he was talking about discipline. So I think the discipline also will help with us being rebellious. And then the second part being a student. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, even after 25 years, he's a student. The Quran said they didn't differ until knowledge came. So once we think that we've become very knowledgeable and we know the secrets of the whole world, and we begin to get into other mindsets other than the mindset of Master Father Muhammad, other than the most honorable Elijah Muhammad mindset, the simple basics of message to the Black man, then we become like Shabazz. We want to, blow stuff up. We want things to happen the way we think it should happen, or we take on other things, in this world where we've been given something very simple, very basic, even a third grader can understand it, which is message to the Black man. Finally, I just want to read this portion of the Quran that was actually in the part that I read today. And it's in chapter 39, the companies. And it says, Allah sets forth a parable, a man belonging to partners differing with one another, and a man devoted wholly to one man. Are the two alike in condition? Praise be to Allah. Nay, most of them know not. So I leave off by saying, I think that a lot of times we get this diverse knowledge and then we become partners. We become partner, or we take on partners, and we belong to different ideologies or different, just different things that, we can see some truth in it, but we become partners and divided in that versus being wholly steadfast to what we were given as Muslims from Master Fard Muhammad, even to the basics of message to the Black man, and knowing that we are God. We don't have to be partnered up or split up in different parts if we know that we are God, children of the Most High God. So that was it.
Sister Yolanda.
Assalamu alaikum. The part that stood out for me, and I'm driving, so I didn't write it down, was when the minister spoke on we were created from dust and the water. I can't remember verbatim what he said about that. Like water, the living water. Okay. Nevertheless, for me, the teaching in my life are the water. When I think of myself, and as you gave us the opening this morning, asking us about the attributes, in my striving to display those attributes, changing my thinking, these teachings are like the living water for me. I thirst so that I can be a reflection of my teacher, so that I can become humble as my teacher stands in front of me. So that's just in me right now. It's just sticking with me, the water. I'm going to have to go back and listen to it so I can get the proper the proper communication he gave in that water, and that dust, that brown germ that lies dormant in me, may Allah continue to stand with me and all of us, so that brown germ can stay down there and I can continue to thirst and drink from this living water. As the sister mentioned, that has been amongst us for almost 60 years. And why are we still in this same condition? We're not thirsty enough. We hear the teachings. We go through the rituals, if I should say, for lack of a word, sake of time, other things. But are we really applying them to our life so that we can become as our teacher is standing in front of us? Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Anybody else have anything that they would like to share before we close? One thing that stood out to me was when the minister said, if God wanted to hide, he would get into one of you. You would never find him. That was deep for me because I think that's the truth, especially if we don't have patience, if we don't have love, if we don't have the understanding. That's the best place to hide. Because if the white man has made us other than ourselves and we've been made dumb, deaf, and blind, if I don't see no value in me, you black too, and especially I don't see no value in me because I'm black. When I see you and you telling me about how you are God and how God is within, I'm finna look at you like you crazy because I'm already looking at myself like I'm crazy because of who I am and what I look like. So that's one aspect of it. And then if we don't rise above emotions into the thinking of God, even us who have the knowledge now of the reality of God, that God is in man, if we don't have these other attributes of being patient, loving, long suffering, we're still missing out that God still works through those who we think are unworthy. Those who we think are immature and that we can't learn from. If we don't rise above our emotions into the thinking of God, we're going to miss God even in them. I believe in Closing the Gap, he says that some will make it into the hereafter that did no good. Shoot. And here we are judging, looking at a brother, well, he didn't do this right, or a sister, oh, well, she didn't do this right. And we making all these judgments in our head. And he's saying in Closing the Gap that some will make it who did no good. If the minister is able to see God within us, and we can't, our vision may be off. It is off. If Master Farrakhan Muhammad knew who we were and came 9,000 miles, as he's saying he's willing to go up a 40 mile mountain or 40 miles to save one. That sounds valuable. Some of us ain't going 40 minutes to save somebody. Shoot. Let alone that long. Shoot, we ain't going 40 seconds down the road sometimes. Especially if they getting on our nerves. So that's deep, man. And I think that's something we need to, well, the minister said it the other day during his 90th birthday. It's not hard to be kind. Just look for God. But I think sometimes because we aren't where we want to be yet, or we disobedient, or we got a flaw or we got a vice, we're not looking for the God in the person. If you can be honest, at one point you probably have been looking for the devil in the person to justify what you're doing. You ain't looking for God. We looking for where I know he got a mistake. I know he do something wrong. Let me try to. No, you looking for the wrong thing. You ain't hard. That's going to come out. Don't worry. Just be patient. All of us got something. We should be looking for, let me move that out the way. Let me try to find the God in that person and then lift that up. And then as we lift that up, when we talk about building and destroying, as our brothers talk about, as you're building one thing, you are destroying one thing. As we build our confidence, we're destroying our self-doubt. As we build in wealth, we are destroying our death. I'm sorry, not our death, our debt. It leads to death, though. All that stress. So that's what I want to add. Brother Shakur.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me, brother?
Walaikum salam. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, sir. I've been, like I said, and the minister, listen to the minister. I remember when minister first came to Tuskegee, and I was a freshman. I think I was a sophomore freshman. I know Colliday's daughter was a freshman. I may have been going in my sophomore year, and I had no idea who he was. And then just being around other different brothers and sisters who were on this quest for knowledge, and then being actually introduced to the knowledge. So I've been studying this knowledge since probably about 1987, 88, 89, between there. And the one thing the minister said, he said, you stay a student. I stay a student and remain humble. It's taking me through physics. It's taking me through chemistry. It's taking me through calculus and other linear algebra. It's taking me to understanding all these things, the science of everything in life. And then when the minister was going to Winston-Salem State, when it was called the Teachers College at the time, because I'm here in North Carolina, and I was doing security when he came down here to speak, it's that he was I think an English major, right? And so what I learned in studying linguistics, so when I get up in the morning, I write out my Arabic, I write out my Hebrew, I write out my Greek, I write out my metroneta, I write out the periodic table, the parts that I'm on, breaking them down. So I have a curriculum for myself so that I stay a student, because he said the purpose of knowledge is for you to keep reflecting God, and you keep reaching for the best part until you die, until you transition. So when you start to study, when you look at the first thing they give you when you go into the nation, and you write your letter and you get your student enrollment. I did so much studying, I said, you know what? I want to make sure I study, I understand every word. So when it said, who is the original, I looked up every single word. Who is the? That's when they made me have a greater understanding for parts of speech. The 8 parts of speech: a noun, a pronoun, an adjective, preposition, a conjunction, an interjection, a question. It made me understand all those things. So knowledge is supposed to take you from a follower to a believer, because belief means to be lied to a knower, to a God. That's why I said, do you believe in God? I told my aunt, I said, no, ma'am, I don't believe in God. I know God. But that's what studying will do. Take you from a follower to a believer, to a knower, to a God. And so as you understand these things and how to study, the first kind of dictionary, like I tell people all the time who will call me from all over the world, and they say, Shakir, well, how do I go about studying? And I said, the first thing I said, education, educere, meaning edu, meaning to ignorance of darkness. I mean, to lead out ignorance of darkness, right? So if what you know can't take you out of ignorance of darkness, then it's not true education. And you can do that for yourself by understanding 8 parts of speech, and by understanding when you see a word that you don't understand. So let me show you a trick in linguistics that I learned, right? And I tell people, I say, the oldest universities in the world are not located in London, England, or in America. The oldest university in the world is located in Morocco, in Africa. The oldest libraries. And so when you go through the histories, when you go back through the Crusades, and you go back before those times, and you find out, and you start going through the Moors, and you go through that, and what black is, and you start going through those histories, you understand that they changed the name of everything. So Spain is not called Spain Spain was called Andalusia. And the last of our ancestors that ruled in Spain, with the last fall was at I can't think of the name of the city, but I said it because my father just left it not too long ago. But this is why they have the running of the bulls every year, and the most prominent bulls when you pictures that when you buy of our black bull that can represent it running the black people out of Spain. So you have to go through all these histories. So in 1511, Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand changed Moorish Latin, which is a black language. They changed it to Spanish. That's why they say Spanish is a dead language, because they call you Negro for meaning dead. So you have to take your time when you study these lessons. It's gonna connect you with everything with the science and life. So when you start to study and you read that first your student enrollment and they say, who is the original man? You get you an etymology dictionary. Etymology is gonna be able to show you how long a word has been on the planet, where that word come from on the planet, and what part of the planet it come from. And then this is how you start to decipher and decode what people who don't want your best interests are hard at doing. And then you have to understand how they trick people. That's why I say people who have degrees, the average person cannot read, because vernacular means slave language or everyday language. But people who talk in language of rulership, it has a specific mathematic code. So this is what you have to understand, the difference between denotative and connotative. Connotative is what a word is associated with. Denotative is what a word actually means. So to give you an example, people say, oh, Brother Ben is so nice and he works out in the gym every day. To the average person who doesn't understand linguistics and doesn't understand connotation and denotation, when they hear the word nice, they think that's a compliment. When they hear the word gentleman, they think that's a compliment. But nice, connotative, we associate it with somebody who's courteous, somebody who's generous and polite. But denotatively, nice mean a damn fool. That's what it means. That's why the old women say, bless his heart, he's so nice. That's what they use it. He a fool. Right? Then they say, oh, he's a gentleman. Well, that's why they used to say in England, a gentleman never does the work. He gets somebody else to do it, because a gentleman is etymology, the old word, definite, connotatively, we associate it with a man that's robust, that's strong, that's encourageable. But denotatively, right? Gentleman mean a homosexual. That's what it means. But I'm showing you how you can study. Because when I saw that the minister understood words, and he can break down words, because he knew the etymology of words and nobody could get over him. Because remember, the original man, all 196,940,000 square miles, all 12,478,118,000,000 inches of this planet, we already circumnavigated and named everything. You can't go back and rename it. They just take it and change up the names. That's all they do. So, I mean, I don't want to, brother man, I don't want to come here and teach, man. You know, I don't like to teach. I'm just your brother, man. I just remain humble. And that's all. I'm just trying to show you all how it took me, how if you get your etymology dictionary, and then when you read something, you look up that word so you know specifically what it means. Specifically what it means. Their etymology dictionary will save you a whole lot of time and heartache. Because I took all my supreme lessons and I looked up every word. I got notebooks that I wrote. And as I continue to write down my lessons, I saw that the handwriting was soothing to me. And then I saw my handwriting starting, and it's almost like my calligraphy got better. Then as I continued to write and I continued to study, I continued to read, then I saw myself making a change. I saw myself evolving, because that's why those 9 numbers, from 1 to 9, from knowledge to born. Once you go from knowledge to born, then you got to go from born back to knowledge. Once you go through something, then you have to grow through something, right? This is why they tell us what the earth is tilted at 23.5 degrees at the poles. And every 25,000 years, she makes a complete shift at the poles. That's what the lessons say. That's why you see the weather so crazy. Why? Because even the physicists said that the earth is losing its magnetism at the poles. Because what was once underwater is getting ready to be above water. And what was above water is getting ready to be underwater. That's why they found seashells in the Himalayan mountains. But if you don't, your lessons are such a blessing. And I love them, and nothing will ever, never take me off the rock of those lessons. That's why you have to continue to study and put it in the time. Everything that you study is going to take you through it. Everything that you study. I've sat in physics class, and my physics teacher's like, well, if we do the shadow of the light, the earth is 93 million miles from the sun, and that'll make the weight of the earth. I said, oh, the weight of the earth is 6 sextillion tons. The unit fall about 21 cycles. My classmate looked at me and said, what kind of Negro know how much the earth weighs? Who the hell is you? You know, I'm a product of the minister. I'm a product of the messenger. I'm a product of Master Rama. I'm a product of these lessons. I'm a product of follow. I'm a product of all these things that I studied, who I saw that knew these lessons. And I stayed the course. I had the discipline. And that's all you have. So I'm just giving you that little bit of how people trip you up that have degrees and they cannot read. And they try to confuse you between connotative and denotative. This is how you get an etymology dictionary. And because these are your dictionaries, they the dictionaries. They brand new on the planet. There's so many things that I could tell you through all these things, you know. And it's just that when I studied these lessons, I had an uncle got mad at me. He said, I thought you would have had 5 PhDs by now. My sister got 2 PhDs. She got a MD and a PhD. My father's a nuclear physicist. He got a PhD. And they all sit down to me like, son, how do you know this stuff? And I'm just bearing witness to the lessons and to the minister and to the messenger, to Master Muhammad. I have sat in with people who have the degrees of this world. And my father's very, very humble man, but he's extremely intelligent. And my sister, with her degrees and she's like, wow, they always tell they peers and their friends, man, you think we smart? You ought to listen to my brother. I said, man, it ain't me. I'm just a student. These are teachers. And I just took the time and the discipline to sit down and study it. That's all. And then if you look up what they call the God particle, the Higgs boson field, the number one particle physicist in the world is Dr. Oliver Keith Baker. He was my next door neighbor. And he used to laugh at my father. He said, he would take me to football practice sometime. And he taught my sister physics at Hampton. And then once she graduated, I think he's the number one go-to physicist in the world on the God particle, the Higgs boson field. And you say to my father, he said, boy, because I used to work out all the time and I still do, I still train. But my mind, he used to tell my father, boy, when that boy mind catch up with his body, he gonna be something else. So, you know, just life is beautiful, and you just have to go from knowledge to born and born back to knowledge. Understanding this is like you saw the minister when he was young. He went from knowledge to born. Now you see him born back to knowledge. As you're gonna get older, and then you're gonna go back. But you have to understand these things. But that's it. I love my family. Salaam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Brother Samuel.
Assalamu alaikum, family. You know, sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees. And Prophet Muhammad said it takes 3 generations to make a Muslim, right? According to the Hadith. And so I'm just thinking about the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, you know, and, you know, we have Jesus 1, Jesus 2, Jesus 3, Jesus 4. I heard him teach Jesus 5 as well, with us being the fifth, this generation being the final Jesus. You know, this knowledge grows in waves. And so if we judge ourselves and look down narrowly upon ourselves, for what's going on in phase after phase after phase, we really rob ourselves of the true beauty of the process that it takes to develop Islam in generations. I remember coming into these teachings, I registered in the 90s, but I came into it as a high school student in the 80s. And I remember being the only one. You know what I mean? Like, it was conscious rap, but in terms of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, he was really raising the nation at that time. And so now you got so many different movements that come along with each time period that, like, for example, we talked about Sheikh Antitio. Well, I was reading that in high school. And, everybody was like, well, this is where it's at, what I'm saying, pro-black, Afrocentric knowledge. And I wouldn't claim nothing. I wouldn't claim the Hebrew stuff I was reading. I wouldn't claim the nation. I wouldn't claim the pro-black. I wouldn't claim the Kemetic stuff. I said, I just don't know what the truth is. But I knew I liked Honorable Louis Farrakhan the most. I knew I liked the most Honorable Elijah Muhammad the most. And so as time went on, I began to settle into a belief, in this area. And now I see that our teachings, whether they say it's the teachings or not, are beginning to take over entire systems. The health food industry, right? Our teachings are beginning to take over different little ecosystems of knowledge. And so I would just say, dear family, be patient and become great in your area of expression. Because he talked about Sheikh Antitio. Well, one of his students is Dr. Ben Yakimin. Dr. Ben Yakimin was a enemy in a sense to the Nation of Islam. But when he died, he gave his whole library, right, to the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. Man, we win if we are like the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. You don't find him judging us. You don't find him being condescending. He'll tell us the truth about ourselves. You don't find him giving up on us. You find Honorable Louis Farrakhan said, I'm going to love you more than you hate yourself. And by the time I get done loving you, we will win. Sometimes I think we get a PhD in finding fault. And I just wanted to encourage us not to do that, not to judge generation, not to judge the individuals before us that, we say, well, my generation would have never did this, or, we just get high off of finding fault in others and in ourselves. And that's why I don't think we can see the progress. Like I said, started out saying, sometimes you can't see the forest for the tree. You focus on the forest, the tree, but you can't see the bigger picture. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan has moved the mind of Master Farad Muhammad through generations now, right? Stood back up in the 70s, late 70s, was with the most Honorable Elijah Muhammad from 55. This is different generations. It's like layers of the earth. Study each layer is valued in the layers of the earth. And so with every physical law, there's a spiritual law. And the spiritual law, things grow in layers. The planet was grown. The planet Earth was grown. And Islam will be grown through us, through generations, and through layers. And I would say one last thing. When he introduced the concept of the 9 ministries, he said, he want to see the name Muhammad. He said, leave these babies alone. He said, I want to see the name Muhammad in arts and culture. I want to see the name Muhammad in education. I want to see the name Muhammad in business. I want to see the name Muhammad in agriculture, right? He said, I'm looking for all Saturday when you watch college basketball, I want to see the name Muhammad in college football. And that's exactly what you said. They might not have a student a bow tie. They might not have a holy headpiece on. But our mind is expanding, not just our names when we give out the 97 Muhammads and the 98 Muhammads, but our mentality is spreading in the form of so-called consciousness. Now we're going to purify it because we're going to outstrip those counter movements with our love when we begin to think like the Honorable Minister Farrakhan. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Sister Kava.
Yes, sir. I wanted to thank the brother who gave the etymology class. I'm definitely going to get the etymology dictionary. That was very powerful. Also, brother just talked about love, and I had put a comment in the chat, and maybe this is for the next study because I know we're on the knowledge of God right now and the knowledge of self. But it just made me to think that the other part of the message to the Black man is the knowledge of the devil, and I think that sometimes we mistake, or even myself, I mistake. The reminder, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the reminder that just as God walks among us, devil walks among us, and not just devil, the white man devil, but the devil within, and the devil within our brothers and sisters. And so we're to enjoin one another to good and enjoin one another to righteousness. But I think sometimes we utilize that point of, oh, we're judging people, we're so judgmental, when it's time to be the reminder and hold each other and hold ourselves to higher disciplines, the discipline of God. So a lot of times we're here, we're judging this person for their fault, or we're judging that person for their fault. But I remember and we look at the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and we're going back. Now, I love these lectures that you're playing, because it's back to the brother was saying, born and then knowledge and then back again. But at a certain point, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was really teaching on who we are and who the devil. And I think we've just lost that discipline, because the Bible says, "Whence cometh thou, Satan?" And he said, "I've just been going to and fro." And the sons of man, the sons of God, presented himself to God, and they was just walking right with the devil. So you talked about environment yesterday. So sometimes, where we immerse ourselves in this world, and we are walking with our brothers and sisters who look just like us, and we allow ourselves and our minds to stay in that position, and we don't realize why we're not progressing over 60 years, because we are being attracted. So the minister was talking about how Yaqub made devil, and he said that he wanted to make us attracted. Are we still attracted to devil? Will we not point out? And not to say that we're to, find fault in a negative way, but through love, to be able to say to our brothers and sisters, and to say to ourselves, "Thus saith the Lord." When we say "Thus saith the Lord," a lot of times, those who we hang out with, or those who are people, they don't want to hear it, and they don't want to accept that. And we don't want to accept "Thus saith the Lord." So, I battle with that. I struggle with, keeping my mouth shut and just distancing myself from certain situations and certain people, because it's like you don't want to be with a whip, and you want to be out of love. But at a certain point, when do you not tolerate devil behavior in your atmosphere and get down with them in the mud and lift them up? Or either you want to get down there with them and just stay there. So I don't know. I just want to throw that in. I think maybe if we can have the next session on the devil, with it, because we got to get rid of that devil. That's it.
In response to that, I think any of us who are battling that, as the brother says, study our lessons. I'll first say this. I'll read this quote from the minister. I think that is all about motive. And when we're correcting someone or looking for fault or finding fault in someone, I think it just comes down to our motive. I think some people, they find fault in others to really lift them up, to understand their perspective and strive to redeem them, as the minister would with his heart. He's not looking for fault, but if he finds it, he's going to correct it. That's the way of the minister. I don't think he deals with, I think he's just going to correct it and do whatever and be patient enough, give them the word and raise them up. Versus some have a motive of finding fault, and they don't care to raise them up. They just want to find fault and tell the person how bad they are and point it out. And so the minister has a quote where he says, "Even if what you accuse has truth in it, what is your motive? If your motive is to defame somebody, slander somebody, then the Holy Quran says, woe to every slanderer and defamer, outstepping the limits." Then he closes with, even if what you're saying is true, your motive will condemn you and not the person you are seeking to defame. So that's what I would say to that. I think our balance should be, is nothing wrong with pointing out the wrong. Of course, that's a part of the 8 steps of atonement. But I think not you, but many people deal with is the motive and why we're actually pointing it out, the motive and why we're actually sharing it. As we was reading the Quran during this Ramadan, it talks about secret councils, and it talked about it being bad if they're not striving to, and I'm paraphrasing, bring about a solution. Is the reason of this secret council, if it's not to enjoin them to do good or to overcome the flaw or mistake or conflict, then it's for what reason? It's for a bad reason. I'm paraphrasing that, but that's what it says. Then when I think about the lesson that I was thinking about was the why isn't the devil set on the best part of the planet Earth? Because the earth belongs to original black man, and knowing that the devil was wicked and there would not be any peace amongst them. So if there's not going to be any peace, the minister was breaking this down in the mind of God. If there's not going to be any peace among them, he said, you take that principle. That principle can be applied to your children. If your children is being disobedient, if your children is not following, the way, hey man, put them out. then he said, shoot, and leave them clothes here too, because he said you didn't buy a damn thing in here. He said God is mathematical, he's not emotional. And he said that he's not dealing with, oh man, he was such a sweet a student or this or that. When you dealing with actual facts, when you dealing with somebody who got a job, you're not saying, oh man, that brother's always on time. He said, no, I'm looking at the numbers. And based on these numbers, you unproductive, you got to go. I'm not worried about it. You brought me no apple. He said, and then he talked about another guy who bought him a suitcase. He said, thank you, brother, for the suitcase. But if you mess up, you're going to get double time because I don't want you to think you can buy me. Showing that he's not emotional. So I think as the minister, I was listening to the Mind of God the other day. He said, that's how it should be. And if this is our lessons and this is how God is. And then he says, why does God ask why? Because he wants us to get up into his mind. So he said, take the principles of the lessons and see how you can apply it to your life. And I think that's how we do it. If we see someone who's in error, we know what we're supposed to do when we see someone who's in error. That's a part of, especially if they wronged you, point out the wrong. So there's nothing wrong with pointing out the wrong. But then the minister gives us the balance on our motive in pointing out the wrong, our motive in exposing something. And then how do we handle people who's going around telling lies, causing the righteous to fight and kill? Well, we know that lesson. We know what to do. So now that removes for me, at least, that removes the thought of, am I doing something wrong? Am I doing that right? Hey man, does the lesson say this? Yes or no? And then I got to check my motive. So I can't weaponize the lessons. I can't weaponize the teachings and say, see, it said point, let me get him. We quick to say, where you see a man, you correct him right there. We just want to defame the brother in public. We just trying to use an excuse to tell off on your sister in public, but we mess out what Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, correct in private. So we got to just make sure, all of us, myself included, that when we're using it, we're not weaponizing it and saying certain quotes and certain teachings for the wrong reason to just let off that we really don't like somebody or we really just want to expose somebody, and we're going to use the teachings to justify it. And then would the minister do it that way? I heard the minister say, never make it personal. In public, he said, never let it become personal. Go after their program, go after their idea, but never let it become personal. So it's a lot of stuff, man, I think that we can use from the teachings to help us guide how to deal with certain situations, because I know we deal with a lot of difficult situations. Anybody else have anything they want to share before we close? All right, we've been on since 6 o'clock, so we've been on about an hour and a half. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in this morning. Another productive, spiritual-based call to get our days started. And remember, the question is, how will God reflect through you today? Will you teach somebody? Will you just be a good example, be a clean glass? Will you just introduce God to somebody in some type of way? How will God reflect through us today? So thank you all for listening, family. I'll see you guys, inshallah, tomorrow morning.